We are hopeless, selfish creatures, and we need a savior.
She's a total heathen.
All right, we're doing a podcast.
Hey everyone, we are your two NoMos. I'm Kate.
I'm Erika.
And welcome to a new season of an Exmo.
And an Evermo
Walk into a bar.
Except today we're in my kitchen.
Yeah.
Or I guess it's my dining room. Because it's a little bit later and where we usually shoot Land of a Thousand Hills, which we love, is closed. But we will be back there soon. But for today, we'll just be hanging out in my cozy little dining room.
Which I highly recommend, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Make really good food. It's really awesome.
We've got like dilly beans and hummus and it'll be a nice little spread. Not as good as Land of a Thousand Hills, but I try.
Yeah, it's great. So today we have a very special guest. We had to knock it out of the park.
You guys, you're going to be so excited. You're not even going to be able to contain yourselves.
Right. I don't know about your Mormon family growing up, but in mine, we saved a very special place at the table for our next guest, who will be coming again.
Jesus Christ! Wow, that was magical. You just popped right in there. Didn't even see you coming.
Glad to be
Holy
here.
moly,
That's for inviting me to your home.
Thanks for being here.
For those of you who are listening, we have Jesus here with us. Only not just any Jesus. This is gay Jesus.
And he's really, really gay. He's wearing a rainbow sash and the Jesus garb and the long hair. And
It has sparkles.
And
It's
sparkles.
blinging, it's shiny. Yep, I love it.
Oh,
we
my goodness.
are so excited to meet you, gay Jesus. We will get to that. We want to hear a little bit about your story from Mormon boy to gay Jesus, because that is that's a little bit different.
So you're not really the Jesus. This guest for everyone, this is our friend Ryan Barlow.
What? I'm out here. I feel ripped off right now. I thought you were Jesus, man.
I'm not Jesus and I'm not actually gay. That's just a title that
The whole thing is a sham.
Yes. It's going to be a theme. Awesome.
Well, it goes right hand in hand with the sham of the Mormon Church. So,
Hey, there you go.
Yep, that's what I was referring to.
awesome. So tell us a little bit about your journey and where you started and how you got here, which I know is a super long journey, but you grew up in Utah, super Mormon, went to BYU, the whole 9 yards, right?
Yeah. If you envision your cringy Mormon missionary look with the short haircut and the clean shaven face, and half the time you're in a white shirt and tie, that was me.
So the photo negative of what you are.
Yeah, that's pretty much exactly that. Yeah, with the seminary grad, Eagle Scout, returned missionary, BYU grad. I even served in the Provo Temple Baptistry while I was at BYU. Met my wife at a fireside with Elder Oaks speaking. Then we got married in the Salt Lake City Temple because that's the one true temple, of course.
Right.
And then went to grad school in Arizona, where I sang in the dedication choir of the Phoenix Temple while I was down there. That was an actually really cool experience. And so just super Mormon, all the things. Never turned down a calling. I thought that was shameful and sinful to turn down a calling. My dad has been in leadership positions, like up to the stake presidency level, and my mom was in the Tabernacle Choir. That was cool. That was a really fun 5 years. They asked for a minimum of 5 years, and she did that before they loyally went on a mission together, like they're supposed to. So that was just my whole life is the church.
And I will say the Mormon Tabernacle Choir,
Which is now
the Tabernacle Choir at Temple Square.
They've changed the name.
Oh.
They wanted to take away the word Mormon.
Yeah.
That is the one thing that I sort of dig about the Mormon Church. I remember listening to them growing up and having no idea what it was. It was just this huge fancy choir, and they're amazing. I like the way that they sound. So I always feel like I need to give credit when something is lovely, and that's lovely. They sound really good, and not I've heard some other Mormon hymns and songs that I'm always But the
some
choir,
of the primary songs are some groups that have been popular at times that are also
A little cringe.
a little cringy.
yeah,
But yeah, the tap choir, they or the MTC is another nickname within the choir. It's a really really cool choir, and that was fun. It would be even now if my mom was in the choir now, that would be really fun to support her even now. She little side tangent. She actually won an award for a song that she wrote. They have an annual music competition, and she won
For
an
the church,
award.
yeah.
And now her song is one of the finalists. It's almost guaranteed to be in the new hymn book.
whoa,
So, yeah.
good
That's
for
super
her.
impressive.
I love that for her.
Yeah.
Although the church music committee practically rewrote half of the lyrics and then asked her to sign off on it before they would approve it. So that was a little disappointing, a little frustrating.
Wait, now
Are
is
you
the-
saying the church controls the narrative? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, like she included Uchtdorf's phrase to doubt your doubts before doubt your faith, and
We've talked about that.
that's
one.
a little too culty.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
so they
it
have to take
is.
that out. But even still, like if my mom ever watches, it's like I'm proud of this. This was
Yeah.
her work. This was her award.
It's really cool.
It's her song, and I'm proud of her. I love it.
And it's a bummer that I'm guessing it's men who are doing the rewriting of her song and no
I
women.
actually don't know. The church music committee, the church, leadership is all men, but when it comes to arts and children, then sometimes they delegate to the women.
That's
So
all-
I don't know about the music committee actually.
That's all we can do. Arts, children,
Yeah.
sandwiches, scrubbing toilets. That's it. That is the
And replenishing
breadth.
the earth.
And replenishing the earth.
Multiplying,
That's the
replenishing.
breadth of our talent, and it's exactly equal with leading and logic and
Right.
thought, and those differences should be celebrated.
It's-
I'm being
it's-
sarcastic.
It's separate but equal. We know separate but equal is a real good thing.
Always equal. It's always very equal. That's the thing about it. You know that it's exactly the same whenever anybody says that. So that's interesting, and kudos to her. That's awesome. So, but it sounds like both of your parents are still in the church.
Yeah, and they probably always will be. And honestly, I don't ever want them to leave because they're so far in that it would hurt
Yeah.
too much. I would rather they just continue.
That's
Oh.
the same with my
There, yeah.
parents. Yeah, I get that.
What did they think of this? I have to ask.
I've never talked to them about the gay Jesusness.
Do they not know that you're doing it?
They probably do now because
Because you're in magazines and stuff.
yeah. Recently, it's been the word's been getting around, but it's more my TikTok channel that they didn't know about for like 2 straight years. That they finally do know about. The word is out.
Wow.
I had one family member reach directly out to me asking me to take down a specific video. So there's been drama within the family just recently because they finally know about it and see the things I talk about the church that they don't approve of.
Right.
The words that I say.
Do they follow you on Facebook? Because I've seen your Facebook and you've posted about prep.
So we're still, those who are on Facebook, we're still friends, I believe, but a lot of them have, I forget the Facebook terminology now because I haven't used it for months.
Unfollow
But
or block, not
Yeah.
blocked, but
to
like-
make it so you never see their content, even
Yeah.
though you're technically friends.
Yeah.
So whatever the word is
The
for that.
hide. Or,
I think it's unfollow.
Unfollow
So you can
them.
you're still friends with someone, they can't see it, but they don't get your content
Yeah.
coming up on
Yeah.
your page, which is an appropriate thing to do. Like I've done that with people who like, I don't like their content, but I don't want to be like, fuck you, I'm unfriending you.
Yeah.
I'll just unfollow them. Then
Yeah.
I don't have to see it anymore.
And honestly, I respect that, and I think that's what more Mormons should do.
Yeah.
As I have family and friends reach out to me every once in a while and say, "Hey, I really don't like what you're doing here," and my first thought is, "Well, then it's not for you." Scroll on. This is
My dad
if you
used
don't
to
like it, then it's not for you.
My dad used to like to tell this joke, which was like something, I'm gonna botch this, but guy goes to the doctor and he's like, "Doc, it hurts when I do this. Whenever I do this, it hurts." And the doctor says, "Stop doing that."
Yeah.
Which is like, if you are hating the content, if it's bothering you, disengage. You can just like not watch it.
Yeah.
But just scroll on. But one of the things like I'm always curious about when I hear, because I've seen your content, it's on TikTok, Ryan Josiah, is that right?
Ryan Josiah.
Yeah.
Ryan being my name, Josiah being my eternal temple name.
Oh, I was wondering if it was a
Oh.
middle name, but just that makes
My
sense.
temple
I just I just thought it was like some biblical thing, and I was like,
It
oh,
is,
it's just
but yeah.
yeah, of course, that too. But I didn't realize that there was that connection. Of course, how could I?
Yeah.
But that is sort of that's interesting. But what I wonder, and so your content is great. I love it. It's very like logical and thought out, and there's a lot of the church, the bad behavior from the church, and then some of the doctrine that is really false and problematic and damaging. Well, my question is, and we're going a little bit off topic for a second, but like when they see that, does anyone ever go, does it ring any bells for anybody? Or like, has it enabled you to have any conversations with those people? Or is it all just like, no, shut down?
Not really with friends and family. With people who I'm well, I guess my relationships have continued to evolve the last several
Sure.
years ever since leaving the church. So it's the wheat and the tares, as I've grown closer to some people and farther away from others. And so those who are, the deeper you are in the church, the more they have just pulled away and don't ask any questions. They don't watch the content. If they see something on Facebook, then they unfollow or and so I don't have many conversations like that with close friends and family. It's more strangers online.
Yeah.
And I do have conversations like that all the time. There are the few TikTok commenters who are always just insistent on defending the church no matter what. And then every once in a while there are other people who are either in comments or in DMs who message me thanking me after the fact for helping them. Like I even had someone at work who said that I can send your videos to my friend and you're the only ex-Mormon creator who she will watch because you're thoughtful and generous and aren't just so angry like some people come across, which that's valid, but I try to be more like these are just the facts and this is why I think you should know type of thing. That I try not to come across as angry, and that has really helped some people as they've told me and messaged me that I was able to flip some switches in their minds and help them realize X, Y, or Z about the church.
Yeah, that really helped me when I first left in 2023 and was going down the rabbit hole on TikTok. I found your account, was one of the first ones that I found, and I felt so validated and so seen, and there wasn't that anger because I wasn't ready to experience that yet. So I loved the fact that you were able to communicate in such a way where I could have my feelings validated and learn more.
I appreciate that, and that's what my aim has been. And back then, I was still very cringy, and so I'm glad that it was still helpful back then.
I don't know if I saw
But
any
that's
of
why I
this
caught on
yet.
because even though it was still cringy, people still liked it.
I don't think it was ever cringy, Ryan. I think you're.
I go back and watch it. I'm like, oh boy.
That might be kind of comfortable because everything that I see that comes out, like we talk a lot when she'll tell me stories or play a song or sing a song or something, and I'm always like, it's like so cringe. It makes me uncomfortable. Like I'll get like.
One of her favorites.
I just like can't, or like even just that we did an episode about the general conference, and even just like the way that people look to me is cringe because it's that
machine.
Yeah, so it might have that like that look, which is like very uncomfortable for me, which is how everyone was walking up to general conference. But if I don't know what kind of cringe you were, but if you were a little cringe, maybe that was like soothing to people who were used to like the general cringe. You know what I mean? I don't know. Just
the Mormon cringe is nice to have something else to loosen things up a bit.
Yeah, like it's nice to transition.
Yeah.
Is my thought.
At first, I had someone else editing videos for me, and he put in these sound effects that we thought were funny at the time. Now I go back and it's funny for a different reason. I love watching those videos, but having random farts and bangs CBS back then.
Oh my God, I'm so gonna.
love
I've
it.
only
We're going
seen-
back.
Yeah,
We're gonna go back and watch the early
Oh,
Ryan.
you have to really scroll for that one.
maybe we can put one download and put it into the.
Maybe
into
I'll,
the episode of
maybe I'll grab a
Erika,
link
if
to
that's
the
okay.
description. Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, that sounds really fun.
So you've talked a little bit about growing up in the church. Talk to us a little bit about leaving the church. What was that like for you?
Leaving the church was a journey. It started with when I finished grad school, moved from Phoenix back to Utah because my family's in Utah and we're tight knit and very faithful, and that's what we wanted. But we were having both individual issues and marital issues, my wife and I. So we decided to try as one of our solutions to work through things to do individual therapy. So she started therapy, I started therapy. And that just changed the way we thought about things. For her, she left the church first, and not knowing anything about the history of the church, which is it seems to be more common when you learn about Joseph Smith
Right.
and what he did with the Book of Mormon and polygamy and all that. But she just had a harder and harder time going to church because of things that people said as she became more sensitive to, I guess you could say, vulnerable populations with LGBT issues and BIPOC community and women with the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And she Thursday came around every Thursday, and she just became this ball of stress, looking forward to church on Sunday. And then the moment church was over, it's just this huge wave of relief.
Mhm.
And I told, as I had been having some changes with the way I thought about things as well, I told her one week that after church, during one of these, like, I'm so glad church is over moments, I said, well, if God really does know you and love you, then if it's better for you to not go to church, don't go to church. And God will understand. And she said, is that an option? She'd never thought of just not going to church because it's better for her.
Right.
So she stopped going and she never came back. That just taking that little step back allowed her to have a different perspective, to think these things through. And her brother had also left the church, and so she talked with him, and they decided that even if the church is true, it doesn't matter. There are so many harmful things done within the church that I don't want to be a part of that. If that Mormon God is the God, then we're going to join the resistance in the next life to take him down, you know? So that was her perspective, not knowing anything about church history.
Uh-huh.
But with her leaving, it kind of gave me permission, so to speak, to start to think about things differently and to question certain things. I understood and had sympathy for a lot of the things that she talked about, but from my faithful perspective, I always had the imperfect people excuse. God has to rely on imperfect people, so even if the church is perfect, the people are not, and that's why these things happen. And so I could just excuse anything away. But at the same time, my testimony, so to speak, of Joseph Smith and the Book of Mormon, I had dedicated so much of my life and my mission and things to this man and this book that I didn't really allow myself to question that. So as I started to think about these things, I started to deconstruct some things. I remember even at one point saying that, I definitely believe in Joseph Smith being a prophet, but I do have a hard time with some of the things that Brigham Young did. I could not make sense of that. Even
Right.
so that was part of my deconstruction journey. But eventually, like, I discovered the CES letter and started reading through that, and that added items, added questions, like the three witnesses and what they did after they witnessed, all the different religions that they supported, and
Erika's like,
This is a new one.
there's
I'm
a lot.
always yeah. There's
They didn't just witness for the Book of Mormon and then just stick with that. They the two or three of them went off to different religions and was a missionary for this one, and then was a witness for this other book of scripture with one.
Wait. Hold on. I don't know what you're talking about. So, like, you're starting from a point of, like, Erika probably knows this. No.
Yeah.
Like, and we don't have to go deep down into it, but so there's, for our listeners, so we, like, some people are listening and are ex-Mormons and are sort of like
Some are
hates
never
people.
Mormons.
And some are never
Okay.
Mormon.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're going to say, like, what the hell is the three? We don't know.
Yeah.
So just like a nutshell,
Yeah.
like, was it like Joseph Smith and two other dudes?
So
And then
Joseph Smith translated it. But then there were three witnesses that if you have a copy of the Book of Mormon, in the very front, there's the cover page, there's the introduction, the testimony of three witnesses and of 8 witnesses. The 3 witnesses were 3 men who claimed to have had an angel appear to them, presenting these golden plates that the Book of Mormon is translated into.
So we
And-
just had to have like some kind of someone to confirm, like, confirm that the plates were real. They saw them.
Were those the 3 guys that you showed me, like in the robes that all looked Jesus-y? Or is that something else?
That sounds like the Melchizedek priesthood being conferred on Joseph and Oliver.
Okay.
So many things.
So many things.
So many things.
So the 3 witnesses were just like someone to confirm, like a witness to say, yes, I saw it too. It's not just Joseph Smith. But then later we learned that they didn't see them with their real eyes. They saw them with their spiritual eyes.
They kind of went back and forth.
So they were on a drug
You
trip.
can
Probably.
argue either way. Yeah, you can argue either way that it was spiritualized, or we can justify it and twist things around to make it so that they did actually see with the real eyes. But so that's the 3 witnesses. The 8 witnesses were 8 other men that were all from people from 2 different. It was either Smiths or what was the other family?
The Whitmer family.
The Whitmer family.
Yeah.
That made up the 8 witnesses who didn't see an angel appear to them, but still claims to have handled the golden plates.
They didn't.
Well, yeah, because they
someone else
didn't
wrote-
exist.
Yeah.
Unless they handled them in their imaginations.
Right.
Yeah, their signatures was all signed by one individual. They didn't actually sign it.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
This is new to me.
Yeah, they didn't actually sign it. The document itself doesn't have that. That's why it doesn't have like their transcribed signature or photo print of their signature in the Book of Mormon, because it's not their signature.
Joseph Smith just signed it for everybody?
It wasn't Joseph. It was someone
Oliver
else.
It doesn't sound like something that he would do.
So anyway, I learned about these 3 witnesses and how they witnessed for the Book of Mormon, and then one witnessed for the string scripture, a different Mormon break off after Joseph died, and he came. What was his name? Benjamin String, had come up with his own book of scripture. He just copied and pasted what Joseph Smith did, and one of the 3 witnesses for the Book of Mormon also witnessed for his book of scripture. And I was like, "Whoa, how can you?" I've been trusting these 3 witnesses. I base my life off of your witnesses. So learning all these things, it just started piling up on my metaphorical shelf, and eventually I just realized that I need to sincerely look into this. I hadn't allowed myself to really look into Joseph Smith himself.
Yeah.
His upbringing, his translation of the Book of Mormon. So the moment I gave myself permission to look into that, everything just fell apart. That week, my wife was out of town, and she thought that I would just never leave. And so she was out of town when my shelf just fell apart. While she was still out of town, I decided to go to the temple one last time, if anything could make it make sense and put it back together, it's fasting, praying, and going to the temple.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. I fasted, said prayers like all day long whenever I could, and then after work, instead of going home, I went to the Bountiful Temple. I got there late. I was the late person they had to shuffle in after the video had already started, and I was hoping for some aha moment, and it was just the opposite. It was so weird at that point, after knowing everything, not everything, but enough.
Yeah.
The handshakes, the sign. I don't think I even knew what the signs meant at that point, but it was just so the circles and the chanting, and I realized right then and there that, okay, I really am done. This is my last time in the temple.
Wow.
And on the way out of the temple, I after the endowment ceremony, you go back to the changing rooms, take off your temple robes, you put them in, if you own them, then you put them in this neat little cloth envelope or packet to take home with you. And but instead of putting it in my packet in my bag, I took it all off and got my just regular white shirt and tie all done up, and then deposited my temple clothes in the temple rental bins on the way out, and left with an empty bag. And so that was my personal ceremony.
That's beautiful.
I just got good goosebumps.
Oh, you got good
That is just a
goosebumps.
really
So,
cool.
I had to share that story because I love that.
I love that too. Like that is just in my head, like almost like a great like little short film. Like there's just something very poetic
Yeah.
and lovely about it. That's
Yeah.
awesome. And it must have felt really good for you to be
Yeah.
able to to just leave like
To
that.
say goodbye. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was. On the other hand, now I kind of wish I had my temple closed for different reasons.
I am the same way, right?
So I
For
could do
different reasons.
I sold my temple dress at a garage sale, and then I
That's the way you
burned
got
everything else.
married in, or just
Well, no, I didn't keep that or whatever.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the temple dress.
Yeah,
Anytime I would
you're-
go, so I
uh-huh.
sold that at a garage sale. For one of my ward members came and bought it, and
now I could use that thing.
I know.
I'm so
But
sad.
my packet, I
Yeah.
burned my apron and my sash and all of that. Was
so
my,
you had your own ceremony.
yeah, that was my own
too.
ceremony. I
Yeah.
burned it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
Except I wish you had them so we
I
could
know.
do a trying moment and I
know,
could try the
damn it.
garments. At some
We
point,
could
I'm gonna
have you
have
just
to.
magically appear in your toes.
That'd be so
Although
great.
if you embroidered some leaves on that shirt, it would look like the apron.
Oh, it is
That's
that
the
shade
exact
green,
color
right?
apron.
This is, yes, I'm wearing a green shirt and this is apron color shirt.
Just need some fig leaves on. So then a few days later, my wife got home from her trip, and she got home, and I told her I went to the temple this week, and I had actually an amazing experience. And her face sunk, and she said, "I was afraid of that," and. Of course, I worded it that way on purpose. I was like, actually, and then I told her what happened. And I'm done. And she did not believe me. Because when she left, like, I was bearing my testimony to her that, oh, yeah, I have all these problems with the church, but Joseph Smith, oh, yeah, I believe in Joseph
He's a
Smith.
stand-up guy.
And then she came home 2 weeks later, and I was like, I'm done. I'm never going back. Well, going back. At that point, I had just recently been called as the ward organist, one of the 2 ward organists. So I continued doing that for another year and a half.
Wow.
Even after removing my name from the records of the church, I was still our ward organist for another 6 or 8 months or so. Do you know you can have a
Whoa.
calling as a non-member? I
That
didn't know that, but
is
I did.
wild. That is insane.
Goodness.
And one of the things I think that is interesting to me that I've heard from people over, and I'm like, and Kate has said this, I'm like weirdly fascinated. It's just the way that my brain works. But like working in Mormon Central and being around people as an ever Mormon in Utah Valley and just being like, how the fuck do you guys make this make sense? But then like as I started to understand a little bit more about the indoctrination and like the brainwashing, I was like, these people can never get out. Like there's nothing that could happen. But then when I've met a couple of people who have gotten out, they all say something similar. And I always thought it would be this like long journey, like, you know, you hear something and then years later you find your way out. But from so many people I've heard that it's like this, like, boom, like
The light switch.
Yeah, it's a light switch.
Yeah.
Like you find out and you're like, this is fake.
Mm-hmm.
This is false, which is so
Yeah.
fascinating to me. Like
For a lot
that
of
story
people.
of like,
I've heard both. I've heard people who have
That too.
deconstructed for a decade or more, and or people who deconstructed and then faked it for a decade or more because their spouse was in. I've even heard of people who both spouses deconstructed and were both mentally out but stayed in for the other person until finally one person told the other, and they were
Right.
like, "Oh, thank God, I'm
Yeah.
out."
so you're lucky that
So,
it
yeah,
just worked out with the two of
there's
you.
all we're really lucky because I've known plenty others who that's really difficult in a marriage just because of the pressure the church.
Right.
It's not just a church or a religion or a
No.
set of beliefs. It's a whole way of life. It's what to expect of what to do in your life and what to do in the next life. And there's just so much to it that it's really hard to have a mixed faith marriage where one of them is Mormon, the other one is not.
So how long were you? Yeah, how long were you in a mixed faith marriage?
Just 6 months.
Oh, it was
6
6
to 8
months.
months, somewhere in there.
Okay.
We went to one get together with Marriage on a Tightrope group. If you're in a mixed faith marriage, that's a great group, or at least it was. It's been a while since I've looked into these things. And we met up with other couples, and there were like 12 or so couples, and they were all having such a hard time being, and they were very vulnerable with everyone there that like, we're having a really hard time with this, that so we're really glad to be able to meet other people who are having a hard time. And my wife were like, we're really supportive of each other because like I had deconstructed enough to recognize that this is really good for her.
Awesome.
And I'm really glad what it has done for our marriage to have her kind of take a step back and step into her own skin that she's comfortable in. And we were the only couple who could say that at the time. So now looking back, I realized that I had deconstructed more than I realized.
Yeah. That's fascinating. So I was curious, like, once you guys were like, you came home and you're like, we're out. Did you guys go out and celebrate, or like, what happened? I mean, if it were me, I'd be like, or like you, like, let's get drunk. Like, we're out now. We can do this. Like, or like, did you just sit down? I'm just curious, like the moments after that, if you remember.
I don't think we did anything specific, but looking back, it's so heavy to come to that realization that everything you've worked for in your whole life, all major life decisions and most small life decisions, are all based around this church and this religion and the what you want because of it. And so leaving it is so big and so heavy that I couldn't have celebrated at the time. I was mourning. I was leaving behind, like, how does Taylor word it? She's dead,
She can't get to the phone right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Why? Because she's dead.
Yeah, so I was mourning dead Ryan and trying to figure out who new Ryan was. And so yeah, that took a while. I had 2 or 3 years of going through the period of this insatiable appetite to learn everything, since I'd felt like I'd been duped for 32 years. I left when I was 32. And so I listened to podcasts and I read books and I participated in these Reddit groups and Facebook groups. And then it was at the end of that 2 or 3 years that a friend of mine who I worked, actually the one who edited my videos, he was the one who said, you know so much because you've deep dived into so many things that you should tell people what you've learned on TikTok. And so that's how that happened. Is this friend of mine who convinced me that it's okay that you don't know how to edit videos or anything. You just record yourself talking, and I'll edit the videos. And
that is so cool.
That's awesome.
That's how that evolved from that deepness and this drive to just learn everything, because everything I thought I knew had just crumbled away.
And that's very common for a lot of ex-Mormons, like those who do follow our content on social media.
So many people
say, like, that was me too, and I felt the same way. Like, when I first left, like, I've been lied to my whole life. My experience was a little bit different. Like, it was like a Rumspringa. I was super excited. Like, yeah, I can go drink now. Let's get drunk, girlfriends. This is great. And it was like I was experiencing my 20s for the first time in my life, But I also have spent so much time learning what I needed to learn and justify. And don't you feel like you had to justify your decision to leave too at some point? To some degree, or maybe that was just my experience.
Yeah. Like when I had conversations with my parents or other people, there's you do run into that cognitive dissonance of feeling like you should justify somehow, but at the same time, you've heard videos from other people saying you don't have to explain anything. It's just you're an adult. You can do adult things and make adult decisions. They don't have to have the explanation. So yeah, I do remember running into those situations every now and then. But at the same time, like I say, the deeper someone was in, the less they asked questions that would require an explanation.
Right, because they don't want to know, like, anything that might tear their thread. They're like, no, because that they understand it's a hazard.
Yeah, like when I left, I told my family members one by one. We went to their house, my wife and I, and just explained that just want you to know, since we love you and we don't want to have anything with our relationship or have you be surprised, you should know that we're leaving the church. And everyone's first reaction was, why? Because they had no idea.
Because it's terrible.
So we'd start to offer some sort of an explanation, then almost every one of them, you could see this wall coming up.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Stop joking. That's awesome. My other follow-up question to that is, out of that darkness, like, and on the lighter side of things, we did an episode a while ago. If Mormon were a color, it would be beige.
I saw your TikTok.
And one of the things my husband and I have discussed, like, even just like small things, we were in Costa Rica and got coffee, and I was like, oh my God, they can't even do this. Like, it made me so sad, because coffee is like, it's just so good. And it's lovely.
I agree.
So like, and there are all these,
You've
things
seen my coffee station.
From, content to coffee to alcohol to you name it. Like, there's so many things you can't do as a Mormon. And then you have this whole like world of freedom. What is your favorite thing that you can do now or engage with now that you are out of that? Or have you thought about it? I don't know.
Well, two things come to mind. A lot of ex-Mormons do reclaim their right to make adult decisions by getting piercings or getting tattoos. I've done neither of the two. I grew body hair. And even just that, like my dad will always have this clean shaven face and missionary haircut, so even just that was rebellious enough for me. And at the same time, I deep dived into coffee and watched YouTube videos about it and bought books about it and spent $1,000 on my coffee setup at home for it. And,
you must have amazing coffee. You have to go to Costa Rica.
And I'm about to post a video with this unboxing video of this gift from a coffee company in Washington State, because I mentioned them on TikTok. And
cool.
I really got into coffee.
Oh, that's
Wonderful.
awesome. That's
So,
really cool. That makes sense.
yeah.
And coffee is lovely. And that was one of the things where I was like, it
Yeah.
just breaks my heart. They can't even do this.
Yeah.
Which seems so benign. Like, I understand to some extent, like alcohol or some of the other things, but coffee, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, and that's
Like-
partially why I got into it, because learning about it, it actually can be very good for you if you make it in the right way.
Mountain Dew is better for you.
Especially 32 ounces
Yeah.
with pumps of syrup. With coconut, it's amazing.
I don't know how they can. I mean, and we've talked about it, but they'll look you right in the face and tell you that. And I cannot.
It's
That
for
was
help.
that was for help.
It was the
And-
Captain Jack Sparrow with the Dr. Pepper and the coconut back. But yeah, I learned about how good it can be and all these different ways of making it. So on the other hand, I didn't get into alcohol as much because that's kind of scary. There's so much more to it.
Right.
And it can be dangerous.
And it can be dangerous at
Yeah.
the same time. So I haven't gotten into that as much. I still know red wine from white wine. That's how
That's a
that's
good
my
place to
extent of my knowledge. And I
One
know
is
I
red,
prefer
one is
wine.
white.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's great. Thank you for sharing that with us. Let's move on to what you are doing now with the Gay Jesus thing and how that's going. And I know we're going to be working together at
Mhm.
Pride, so let's talk a little bit about all of those things. But mostly first, I guess the Gay Jesus thing and how that came about and what that means to you and all that story.
Yeah, that came about because I'd grown out some facial hair and some head hair, and people
And you're like,
started-
dang, I'm Jesus.
Do people make that comparison with for you?
Oh yeah,
They
yeah.
see
Like,
and like,
right
oh my
away,
gosh,
the moment my hair was like chin length, everyone was saying, "Oh, you look like white Mormon Jesus." And, so it was 2 years ago, before the Pride Festival. I think I did this for Pride. It might have been for something, but I bought this cheap $20 Jesus costume on Amazon.
As you do.
I just brought it with me to the Pride Parade to just watch the Pride Parade with my family. And so I put it on over my t-shirt and everything. And those in the parade passing by just absolutely loved it.
Wow.
It was so surprising how many people wanted to give me a hug or take a selfie with me or just give me a high five and tell me how amazing it was that Jesus was finally here, because Jesus is all about love. And that's what the Pride Festival is all about.
That's cool.
So afterwards, my friend Mandy, who I've done videos with on TikTok,
Mandy's great.
she was the one I did the Stop Giving Men Microphones series
Yeah, that was great.
with. And it's still some of my absolute favorite videos.
Yeah.
She's a professional seamstress, does some absolute amazing work. She came to me and was like, Ryan, can I make you a Jesus costume? Make it all sparkly and rainbow? And I was like, would you please? That'd be amazing. So she made this for last year's Pride Festival that I, again, just went to the Pride Festival. I watched it with my family in this costume and then went, watched the parade and then went to the festival and had hundreds of pictures taken with me. And it was hard to drag some kids along to that one, so I'm not going to do that one again. But it just kind of, I just fell into it because people called me Jesus, and I bought that costume, and people responded, and I saw how much it helped people who had gone through religious trauma to have this symbol that had represented their trauma, but is now embracing them and loving them and telling them how amazing they actually are. So.
And I love that.
I do
love
too.
doing that.
One of the things, and I talked to you a little bit before we started the podcast today about this, like working in Mormon Central and seeing like a lot of the bonkers behavior, and a lot of it was around the LGBTQ community. So people would, on one hand, be saying, yes, we're allies for this group,
Yeah.
but also there was like, but you can't.
There's a lot of cognitive dissonance with that one, especially. Yeah.
Yeah, it was nutty. And my very first experience with a Mormon, I think when I moved here 4 years ago, I went to a thrift store and there was a guy who was checking me out. He had black leather pants on and like a black mesh shirt and a pink feather boa. And he was checking me out, like ringing me up, and
I'm sure he was checking you out in other ways too, Erika.
No, definitely not like that for sure. And he just started chatting with me, and he mentioned that he had just come out of the closet and that he was part of the church, and I didn't know that much at the time, and I was like, oh, like, how'd that go for you? And he was like, it's really hard. And then he said, but the thing I don't understand is if God made me this way, like, how can I be wrong? And I was like, like, it is so
painful to so many people.
It's so painful. And I read an article recently about you in like one of the magazines or somewhere about all the people who just come up to you and just feel that love, which just like makes me like tear up, because this is like a source of trauma. These people have been told you're wrong, you're sinful, you need to atone, you'll
be straight next life.
Yeah, you'll be
celibate this whole life. Yeah.
We can put a link to that article. It's Q Salt Lake Magazine.
Salt Lake Magazine. Yeah, we can put that in the show notes.
They make it sound like they interviewed me. They just grabbed quotes from my TikTok videos. And it's the nicest article. It is a beautiful article. It made me cry.
Yeah. Well, I love that you are giving that to people. That taking this trauma and turning it into something like loving and beautiful and wonderful. That's so great.
Which is what religion claims to be all about. And yet you have so much pain from being told that you, just by nature of being you, are evil, are wrong, or sinful.
Right.
And
it's because the three of us we're hetero. I mean, we're just allies. But it would be just like someone saying to me, "You need to love a woman." Like,
and you're wrong with you for loving a man. Like, what is wrong with you?
And I cannot fathom how that must feel for these people to say, like, you have to change everything about who you are.
And it's really dirty and shameful and sinful what you want, which is like, it's bonkers, and it's really hard. And to your point about, what religion is supposed to be, I'm a agnostic leaning atheist, but I grew up Episcopalian, and I know what Jesus was supposed to be about. And I wish he was real, because he would come back and fucking bitch slap people and be like, you didn't hear me. You weren't listening. That's not what I said. Like, just be nice. That's it. Like, the message is be kind and treat others well. And people are like, be self-righteous. That's what he meant. Like, which is bananas to me, and so gross and so awful that message, whatever it was from the man, the myth, the legend, has been morphed into that. So
for me, it took a while to come to this point of allyship. I love that you just embraced it as well as you did. But for me, that was part of my exit from the church, was when my kid came out. Yeah. When my Theo came out and said, Mom, I want to go by they, them, and identified with these different ways. I'm like, no, but the church tells me this. The handbook had said, in the church handbook, it said you need to use the pronouns that these kids were given at birth.
Yeah.
You need to use the name that they've been given. They've changed that since, because I think they got enough pushback that they've changed it. Like, I guess you can use the names and pronouns that they choose, but
they have gone back and forth with it.
Yeah, it's so contradictory. Like, yes, love and accept these people for who they are.
And also change them.
And also, because you know better. You know better as a member of the church, and you have.
But also, if you're trans, you can't be trusted to just pee when you need to pee. You need to be.
I know. I hate that so much. That was a new policy from last summer.
Yeah, that's current, right?
Yeah, I believe it's current, but just last summer it was released, where they say that individuals in the trans community, if they can come to church, but they have to be escorted to the bathroom of their choosing, and then like have somebody stand outside the door so nobody else can go in.
But a lot of times, like, you don't even necessarily know someone is trans. Like, I have met trans people, seen trans people
right.
that I later found out, and I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
I would never know.
Mhm.
So how do they
that's-
know? Are they like pulling up skirts or pulling down pants and checking?
Go,
Like, what do you got down there?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, speaking
how
of
do you
which,
even
we
enforce
escort
that?
trans individuals to the bathroom, but then send our kids into the bishop's office alone.
Exactly.
Where they're questioned about whether or not they touch themselves.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like,
yeah.
Like,
The
make that
hypocrisy.
make sense.
Yeah. It's
yeah.
ridiculous.
Bonkers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
So
why I'm
I-
glad to be an ally.
I'm
Because
glad
of
you
things
are
like
too.
that.
it's so great. I think it's lovely and wonderful, the work that you are doing, and like how many people that helps and touches. That you like are more like Jesus than anybody, any leader in the church that I know of. And I think that's
Yeah.
really lovely and wonderful.
So I went to the Pride Parade last year for the first time as an ally. That was my
Hey.
very first time.
Cool.
I'd gone like 2 years prior to show my Theo that I was supportive, but I felt so uncomfortable. I
Yeah.
left right after the parade. I'm like, I had to skip church for this. God is gonna judge me because I skipped church to go to this
I was so like,
parade.
Jesus,
you know,
what did you
on
think? Did you-
vacation.
Right. Yeah, I would too. I would go to church. I would find the church to go to.
We
while
went
on
to church on our
vacation.
honeymoon, like 2 days after we got married. We
We
went to church.
Yeah, I got married over General Conference weekend. We
Oh, yeah?
watched General Conference on our honeymoon. My existence. I
Of
know.
course, Bob was probably like, son of a bitch.
He was.
And he's Mormon.
Anyway,
Just like not that
Love
way. That's awesome.
Right.
Oh my God.
But anyway, I went to this parade and a couple of years ago and just not good. And then after my transformation, leaving the church, I went and saw you across the street.
Yeah.
And I was like, I know that guy because I followed your TikTok and like, Gay Jesus. And you were too busy like getting selfies with so many. I just watched you for a little bit and everybody across the street just like, oh Jesus, just like they were responding like I was,
Crazy,
but they
yeah.
didn't have a whole parade between you and
Yeah, I had
them.
no idea the first time that people would respond like that.
Yeah, they were
Yeah.
so thrilled. So tell us about like this next Pride. What is your plan for this next Pride?
Our plan.
Our plan,
Yeah,
actually.
this is where we all come together here.
Yeah.
This year, Sam, what's his handle? It's
Can't Pray Me
Can't
Away.
Pray Me Away.
Mhm.
On TikTok. Can't pray me away.
Asked if I, as Gay Jesus, would join him and his group to at Pride in the parade and at a booth with his group, Conversion Therapy Survivor Network.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And since conversion therapy is usually, I would probably say, religious in nature, or at least the reasoning behind it is religious in nature. And so a lot of these people who've survived conversion therapy have a lot of religious trauma. And so he thought it would be a good fit. And I was like, yes, because last year I was looking for a group to go with.
Yay.
And just for anyone-
this is just perfect. I would love to support that.
And just for anyone who doesn't know, conversion therapy is when you're trying to pray away the gay, which is what
Pretty much.
what this guy's Sam's handle is, and what that whole thing is.
Yeah.
Just, most people know, but just in case some people are like, "What is conversion therapy?"
Like the next in line to be prophet or president of
Yeah.
the LDS Church is Don Oakes, who
Mhm.
was head of BYU when BYU was doing electroshock therapy. Like you connect
God.
electrodes to certain parts of your body that when you look at gay
Oh my God.
P word, then you are shocked, and you
You
look
can say
at
porn on
hetero
the
porn.
podcast.
Then you look
It's
at
not
hetero
TikTok.
porn, and you're allowed to enjoy it. But anyway, so that's
Oh my
they were
God.
doing that when Oakes was president of BYU. So
My arms are a barometer
It's
for
just-
okay.
absolute bonkers. So that's why the church is still as homophobic as it is, because Oakes is still in charge.
Yeah.
The moment he was called as an apostle, he gave this 13-page manifesto to the rest of the apostles saying, we need to start changing things and make this official that we are homophobic, essentially.
Yeah.
And
Right.
then there was
Oh.
this, anyway, brief history. There was this court case in Hawaii that the church wanted to insert themselves into with this gay couple who were wanting to get married. And Hawaii said no, and they said, but we want to get married. And the church said, oh, we have something to say. And they didn't listen to them. So then they came out with a family proclamation, and then they were able to give that to the court as an amicus brief or friend of the court And so anyway, that's Oak. So that was all him. And he's next in line to be prophet.
Yeah,
And
I
so
don't like that
that's
guy.
one of the main reasons why I'm passionate about this, is because I absolutely hate what he has done
Yeah.
to so many people.
Right.
Yeah, it's awful and it's really sad. So I'm grateful for people like you doing that work. I'm grateful to be in the booth with you at Pride.
Mhm.
We're going to be working alongside the conversion
Yes.
therapy
Conversion
survivor
therapy. Sorry.
network.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's quite the tangent from conversion therapy.
No, that's okay. That's great. That's the way our podcast goes,
Yeah.
and we love it.
But yeah, we're going to be with Ryan Gay Jesus, and with Sam, and with a few other amazing TikTok influencers at a booth at Pride, which will be on the 7th and 8th of June.
in Salt Lake City.
I am super excited for the Pride Festival coming up. If you're seeing this before, come join us. If you're seeing this after, look for footage.
And
and
come next year.
Yes,
Definitely come next year. 'Cause
absolutely.
it's
Yep,
going to be a hoot.
And this will be a tradition. Actually, right now, Mandy, my costume designer, is making a crown of thorns for me that will have dangling rubies as blood drops.
Oh, I cannot wait.
For the parade, I almost forgot this. I'm glad I'm remembering now. I commute to work on an electric scooter, like the type that you can rent, that you see on the sidewalks. I bought my own that can go faster than the ones you can rent. I am going to turn the bottom into a cloud.
Oh.
I have turned the handlebars into a blinging cross.
Yes.
So it has,
Jesus got bling.
yeah, so I haven't told anyone on social media, so your followers and fans here are the first to know that I will have this disco ball mirror cross while riding along on a cloud.
I love that. That is so awesome. I'm so excited for
I
Pride.
actually brought the cross home today I put it together in my spare time at work and then rode it home from work on my scooter and got so many stares, and because I was waiting at the stoplight, 2 guys in a row who's turning left in front of me did this. Well, yeah, me, my blinging cross here. So yeah,
Salt Lake. That's
I'm really
kind of,
excited. So look for footage.
That's awesome. A little rebellious in Salt Lake.
And now it's time for a trying moment.
So I have never experienced an honest to goodness miracle. So since we have you, Jesus, gay Jesus here, would you perform a miracle for us?
Yeah.
I shall do my best. What do you have in mind?
No pressure.
If you've noticed, we're all running a little low on wine, and we have to have wine to do our cheers.
I guess all 3 of us are.
Yeah, we're all out of wine. So could you please do us a favor and turn this water into wine?
That would really make me happy, especially as a super wino. If you could, do that.
Well, what if I one up you? And since I'm here as gay Jesus, then by the power of the devil within me, who loves you exactly as you are, I give you sparkles.
That's not wine. That's
Glitter.
better
Yeah.
than wine.
Yeah,
It is gay
don't drink the
Jesus.
glitter.
It's
It's,
glitter.
That's microplastics. Not good for the belly.
For those of you just listening, gay Jesus just turned water into glitter.
What would we expect other than this from gay Jesus? Thank you so
I
much.
need that color on me somewhere. That's
Oh,
a
yeah,
nice
we
color.
need-
Look at
yeah,
that. I didn't
that
know I
would-
was capable of that.
Yeah. Well, maybe you can give this to Mandy and she can sew it up for you somehow, incorporate it. I won't drink it.
Or put some gel in my hair and then just
Oh.
dump it on the gel so that I'm...
I think that would be great. You can be gay glitter, Jesus.
That's-
You're just gonna step it up every year.
Well, I do need my nails done and some long
Yes,
rainbow
rainbow
lashes.
lashes.
If anyone can,
Yeah.
I need to look into that.
That'd be fantastic. Fabulous.
So I think we're going to wrap up now, but we're all going to be together again for Pride in a couple of weeks in downtown Salt Lake. So if you are seeing this before June 7th and 8th, 2025, come check us out there. It should be a lot of fun. And until Pride,
then, everyone,
cheers to deconstructing Mormonism. I'd be better with glitter, though.
Mormonism.